Warning, the following video may contain spoilers. You have been warned. Hello, otakus. I am the Manga Maniac, and today we are going to review Nightmare Inspector Volume 1, which has got to be one of the more unique manga that I have read. Set during the Taisho era of Japan, which is roughly the early 1900s to the 1930s, the story mostly takes place at the Silver Star Tea House where a Baku resides. Now, what is a Baku, you might ask? Well, it's basically a creature of Japanese mythology that eats dreams. But this Baku takes the form of a young boy named Hiruko, who offers to expel people's nightmares in exchange for the nightmares themselves. While the series does lend itself to cliches from other supernatural shop-related series such as Holic, Pet Shop of Horrors, and so forth, the unique setting makes it stand out. Also, the artwork is superb and the stories are well crafted. Like, you think you know what's going on, but then there's like some twist that happens at the very end of them, and the characters are... Like most episodic series, the supporting characters are pretty one-dimensional and easily forgettable, with the exception being the tea shop owner, whose name is never revealed throughout this volume, which is kind of weird. She doesn't have much of a personality, but she acts as the anchor of normalcy by offering coffee to the various clients who come in and having friendly chats with Hiruko regarding his work. Now, Hiruko, on the other hand, is not only unique in terms of the way he looks, but also in the way he behaves. He may look human, but underneath, he's pretty cold and heartless when it comes to his human clients. He doesn't really care much about their well-being because all he's in for it is just the nightmares, which is his equivalent to food. The first story is called The Descending Stairs, where a young boy comes to the shop asking if Hiruko can do a funeral service for his mistress, whom he has a nightmare of being dead and being far out of his reach. So Hiruko uses his magic cane to make the boy fall asleep and guides him in the nightmare to his mistress down a flight of stairs that leads to the top of a tower. There the boy hugs his mistress's corpse, insert your own necrophilia joke here, and wakes him up to reveal that he was a weather vane this whole time. Okay, weather vanes apparently can dream. I know the Japanese have a belief in inanimate objects having souls, but then it just makes you wonder how he was able to get to the shop from his mistress's house, and in human form no less. The second story is simply titled Writing, where Hiruko and the tea shop owner are interrupted by a girl who appears at 11 a.m. and tries to stab the tea shop owner with a knife, but Hiruko manages to block her. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not saying any of the clients' names, it's because they're not that important to the overarching story. You never see any of these characters again, so it's like, why bother telling their names? Anyway, the girl explains that in her nightmare she sees a blank space accompanied by an inkwell and brush, and writes tomorrow will be a repeat of today. And for some strange reason, this replicates her actual life. Then the next night she writes, tomorrow I will stab someone, and that's why she attacked the tea shop owner. Wanting to return to her previous routine life, the girl asks Hiruko to rewrite the words in the nightmare, but what he rewrites is what she wrote previously, tomorrow will be a repeat of today. Which essentially means that the girl is going to continuously show up at the shop around 11 o'clock, try to stab the tea shop owner, and then the whole thing starts again. And it's like, God, that must be really annoying. And then the fact that they never bring it up again throughout the rest of the series is just like, okay, so I guess we're not gonna have customers show up around 11. Again, Hiruko doesn't give a shit because he just wants his nightmares. The third story, Lost Things, tells the tale of a woman who has a nightmare where parts of her body keep falling off in a place that reeks of blood. And this admittedly is where is one of the more gruesome stories. So the woman asks Hiruko to help her find the missing body parts of the nightmare, and so he does. But with each body part they collect brings a memory with it, which shows that the woman had a lover, then he told her goodbye, she in turn suspected he was cheating, and then her memory goes blank when her left hand detaches itself again. She decides to let it go, and just when Hiruko wakes her up, her lover shows up at the shop with a police officer and accuses her of stabbing him when he said he was leaving her. I don't know how the hell he knew where she was going, but when he tells her to confess, she doesn't remember a thing. The fourth story, On the Brink of Death, is about a sweet girl who's been having a continuous nightmare of getting closer to falling off a building since a man she loved committed suicide by doing the same thing, and is afraid that she'll certainly jump tonight. Then a man who she considered to be a friend who actually loves her thinks she should go through with the nightmare in order to get over her love for the dead man. Apparently digging nightmares with potential blood, Hiruko puts the girl to sleep and jumps off the building first, followed by her afterwards. Now in this universe you can't die in Dreamland, so the two recover quickly. The girl wakes up and things seem to be going well between her and the guy. Guess what happens? The guy shows up a few days later and informs Hiruko that the girl died in an accident recently, and now he's having the same nightmare she was having. Which begs the question, is this going to keep happening every time somebody's loved one dies? And then if someone has a dream where they're going to die, that they're actually going to die in real life, or is this just a one-case scenario? Anyway, Characters, the fifth story, involves a teenage boy who has a nightmare on the anniversary of his father's death. He explains that his father was harsh to him as a child and always locked him in a shed whenever he did something bad. Then one day he found his father dead and thinks he might have killed him because of his faulty memory of that day in the continuing nightmare, which consists of a negatively lit shed made of kanji characters. He sees a small character for his name below his father's, but no matter how many times the boy pulls in the nightmare, it won't budge. The same thing happens when he and Hiruko go into the nightmare. Then Hiruko discovers a character for a rat, which turns out to be a toy the boy's father gave him to play with while he sat out his punishment in the shed. It is then that the boy conveniently remembers that his father died shielding him from a bunch of falling boxes. Afterwards, Hiruko wakes him up and the toy rat is suddenly materialized on the table he usually sits at. The reason I point this out is because normally the nightmares are depicted as orbs which Hiruko swallows, not physical-looking objects. And I don't think this ever comes up in any of the other stories. The sixth story is called The Silver Screen, where a fanatic of a particular silent film actress dreams of her and her male co-star reenacting a tragic scene in their latest film, while he has to watch it from behind a silver screen. He wants Hiruko to stop the actress in the act and tell her his feelings for him. So Hiruko does just that and even allows the actress and the fanatic to get together. When the fanatic leaves the shop after thanking Hiruko, the radio announces the actress and her co-star committed suicide together in the same manner as the scene from the movie. Whether the boy's dream was somehow predicting that, or a foreshadowing of that, or what, it's anybody's guess. Unaware of this recent development, the fanatic goes to sleep, has a seemingly pleasant dream where he and the actress are sitting in a field together. Then the actress takes him to the waterfall where she and her co-star jumped from before, gives him a very evil smile, and then they jump off together. A few days later, the radio at the shop announces that the actress actually manipulated her co-star into committing suicide with her and encouraged her fans to do the same. I have no fucking idea. It just doesn't really add up. Then our last story is the beginning of the first two-parter called Facing Mirrors, which begins with a handsome man of noble status entering the shop. He tells of a woman's voice he hears on his phone whom he believes is the girl of his dreams, and has a nightmare of him standing before a continuous mirror where the woman is facing away from him and he can only talk to her through the phone. In the nightmare, Hiruko notices that there is no second mirror, and a strange ink-blot monster in a kimono at the very back of the mirrors. Next, Hiruko breaks the mirror closest to the man, allowing him to see his beloved, who turns out to be himself. So he was a fucking narcissist. Realizing that the second mirror was the man himself, Hiruko lets him sleep longer with his narcissistic fantasy, and just when you think it's all over, the real woman the man was talking to on the phone shows up. And that's how Nightmare Inspector Volume 1 ends. Well, I am the Manga Maniac, and if you'll excuse me, I'm going to look for a Baku myself.